How are we doing, everyone? This is Happy with Cars and Stuff, and today I'm going to show you how to replace wheel studs. To do this, you're going to need a breaker bar, a hammer, a torque wrench, a ratchet, an impact gun. It's not required, but it definitely helps speed up the process. A sander, sockets and wrenches. These are for removing the brake line brackets, the caliper bolts, and the caliper mounting bracket bolts. These are all going to be different for whatever vehicle you're working on. Stud removal tool. You can find one of these at your local auto parts store or online at fairly reasonable prices. An old lug nut or a spare nut that fits the lugs, anti-brake squeal lube, a vice gripper pliers. For my car I needed them, but you may not for yours. Your new studs, towels, penetrating oil, brake cleaner, and a jack and jack stands. First, you're going to want to break the lug nuts loose using a breaker bar. Then jack the car up and secure it with jack stands. Now with the car in the air, remove the lug nuts fully, then take the wheel off. Next, remove your brake line bracket and set it to the side. With that out of the way, remove the caliper bolts from the mounting bracket. For me, there's a metal piece on the slide pin that I need to grab with a vice gripper pliers. Like I said earlier, it may not be the same on your vehicle. Now you can wiggle the caliper off the pads and set it on top of your rotor shroud or somewhere else out of the way, but make sure it's not hanging by the brake line. Next, spray penetrating oil on the caliper mounting bracket bolts. While letting the fluid soak in, take out the brake pads from their seats. Now use your breaker bar to break the mounting bolts loose and then fully remove them and the bracket. You may have to spray some penetrating oil around the center of the rotor to make it easier to remove, as well as tap it with a mallet to break up the embedded rust. Then, remove the rotor. With the rotor removed, go ahead and spray it with some brake cleaner. Then, take your sander and remove any imperfections from the outer and inner sides of the rotor. Once the rotor is smoothed out, spray more brake cleaner on each side and wipe it down with towels. Next, take an old lug nut or a random nut that fits and tighten it onto the stud as shown. Once it's tight enough, take your hammer, start whacking the stud out of the hole. Then, loosen the nut off the stud, pull the stud the rest of the way out. Now you can do the same for the remaining studs. Once all the studs are removed, spray the hub with brake cleaner and use a sander to remove any imperfections. After that, spray with brake cleaner and wipe down with towels. Now start installing your new studs by placing into the hole, putting the stud installer tool on the stud with the indent facing outward, then hand tighten the lug nut onto the stud. Next, use a socket extension or something similar to use as leverage to hold the hub in place when you tighten the stud. You'll need to tighten the stud until the head of it is flush against the rear of the hub as shown. Now you can break loose the lug nut and then do the same to the remaining studs. Then place the rotor back into place. With the rotor in place, clean the bracket, pads, shims if you have them, and bolts with brake cleaner and towels. Now clean the mounting bracket area and reinstall the caliper bracket. Once the bracket is in place, torque the bolts down to specification. Next, apply a small amount of anti-squeal lubricant to the backs and where metal touches metal of your pads and spread it out as shown. Then, reseat the pads into the bracket. Now clean up the caliper and then put it back into place, tightening the caliper bolts fully. Once the caliper is tightened down, reinstall the brake line bracket. If you're installing a wheel spacer, be sure to clean it up before putting it into place. Now you can go ahead and reattach the tire. Then raise the vehicle from the stands and fully lower. Now torque your lug nuts to spec, and then your work is complete. Thank you everybody for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to like it and leave your comments in the comment section below. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also the bell for upcoming content coming here soon. In the meantime, enjoy one of the videos in the top left or right. Have a good one.